Hello, everybody. It's May 23rd. Thought I would do a journal reading. This I read a lot of this in the session, but what I wanted to go over was a few key points with this. So these journals are from July 23rd to 26th, as the title shows you. But so the 23rd, so I just saw an image of a 2-ish-year-old child being walked by a 4 or 5-year-old child. And I realized here as I was processing the part that they were either late teens or early 20s. The little one was between the older ones. They were holding hands and almost holding the child up and swinging him as he walked. Then a few moments later, had an image of that same little child was being undressed by the teens or young adults. And what happened here was I recorded this because I saw it in my mind, and I couldn't put it together. I forgot it was even there until I recorded the session that y'all will see with this, reading it, and I went, when I was editing it to post it, I went, oh my goodness, there's a part right here that I never handled 10 months ago, because 10 months ago I was in the thick of 1,000 different, memories and things and TED Talks and emotions. I just thought, okay, I'll figure this out later. Well, later has come. So I can't stress enough for y'all to go back, reread your journal 6 months, a year and a half later, because you'll get more puzzle pieces. And I'll show you what I do is I'll take these little one-liner memories, put it on a sticky note and put it on my worksheet. And as I collect up 10 or 15 or 20, then the parts will say, well, this goes with this, and this goes with this. And, it just helps me sort things out. These are what I call my puzzle pieces of my brain, my memories. I can't, sticky notes are really valuable to me, and I didn't even start doing that till I think a month or 6 weeks ago. So again, and here's what I'll show you that goes with this. I had, let me share. Well, come on now, what's happening? Share. What I did was I took the puzzle piece and I went into my chronological timeline. And the only thing I kept saying, well, where does this part go? Who is it? What's it a part of? And I just kept hearing Penelope, Penelope, Penelope. But when I looked at this incident here, it's what these different color codes are, different incidents. I was like, no, that doesn't feel right. So I'm kind of looking in the same time frame. And this name kept popping out to me, Lucas and Booker. Or no, wait a minute. I'm on the wrong one. Dang it. I, let me see. Yeah, Jamari. Okay, that's what I named her, Jamari. Here it is. It wasn't with Penelope, it was with Eviana, who, so and you can see the old part, a 2-year-old swung by two adults, because by this time I realized it wasn't children, it was adults. And I was able to place her that part where it went in time. And it's funny, I think with this incident is really fascinating because he was this 2-year-old swung by two adults. The next part was two men kissing that had red eyes. And then it was two men swimming. And this is what my 3-year-old mind thought that they were doing, was two men on bed having sex, two gay guys. And my part just thought they were swimming, as I didn't understand what was happening. So this part here's got just 2-year-old, two adults, two men, two swimming. It was just really interesting, I thought. And so that's how I was able to place here, because Penelope, the name Penelope kept coming up, but Penelope's like, no, it doesn't go here, but it went with the very next one. And these are this yellow, orange, and green were the three different mob clubs that I was trafficked to. And each one has many different incidents, but these are the first that I've remembered. So that's that. And in the same journal, this is just a note about some body memories and feeling drowsy and reading. Now, Josiah, and now here was another one-liner, little sticky note on my paper. Just now I saw myself as like a 3-year-old punching at someone, and I'm dressed like a boy. And again, 10 months ago, I was like, I don't know who or where or what this is. So, you know, but as I'm went over it again in order to prepare it to post it and I'm editing it, I was like, oh my goodness, here's another part, just like this one. Yikes. But now 10 months later, I'm not so overwhelmed and I can address it. So again, I didn't know where it went. And the part's like, well, I went to my time or I went to my let me share this again, my chronological listing, and I realized the part's like, well, it goes in here by Jamari, this new part I put in. And I'm staring at this part here going, well, Booger was the part that would lay in bed anxious, pick his nose and wipe the wall and make his environment dirty so I would be um, unpleasant for my dad to want to. I thought if I made my environment disgusting, he wouldn't want to approach it. Well, I was wrong. But this is the part that would lay in bed anxious, waiting. Now, my sisters and I, Angie, Mary, and I all shared the same bedroom. So Dad would take Angie or Mary downstairs, do what he did with them. I think he gave them, I believe, I'm sure that he raped them, but I don't know. But I know that they were trained to be my handlers. So I'm sure he did some sort of MK Ultra on them to teach them to be my handler. So when one or the other would come back, because theirs was like maybe a half hour long, and mom would be knocked out of sleep in bed. And so Angie's downstairs and Mary and I are in the bedroom, and I'm laying there all anxious and nervous because I know he's about to come get me to do my big, longer, more drawn out abuse. And I finally screwed up the courage, got rebellious, and got out of bed. And I remember Mary's like, no, don't get up. I was talking to her. We got to go tell mom. We got to go tell mom. I just couldn't handle the anxiety. I'm like, we got to go get help. Mary's like, no, don't do it. She was doing her handling. She's like, we're going to get in trouble. Stay in bed. Don't. So I finally screwed up the courage to get up and out of bed. And I went to the door and I'm reaching for the door handle. And Mary grabs my other arm and yanks me back. Well, because I had finally, I still had this anxiety, but I had also the empowerment to go get help. And Mary's pulling me away. My rebel part punched her in the nose, just cold cocked her, just punched her, threw her off, opened the door, went into the bedroom to get mom. Mom was drugged. I couldn't shake her awake. I remember standing there shocked, oh my goodness. I guess this was a waste of time, like she said. Maybe she tried and knew, I don't know, but that this other part, me punching her, was born in that moment. But I didn't I had remembered Booger and Rebel. I wish I had put the dates that their memories came. I guess I could go through my journals and do that, but that would take another 20 hours. But what I like to do is record who presented first, second, and then third or the rest. So the red on the left is first, the green in the center is second, and then the black on the right are all the others. So that's how I know who came first, second, and third, because this is your external guardian. And this is, or no, this is the external guard. Then you've got the gatekeeper, I forget the order, but you've got four guards in there. And so I like to keep track of who's who. So these two are the two main guardians that once they are relaxed and have worked out their frustrations and feel happy and peaceful, then the next person can show. Now, sometimes they'll all come at once, sometimes out of order. Like this one that I talked about earlier came out of order. I thought Eviana came first, but she didn't. It was Jamari. When I went and looked at the dates and compared them in the journals, it was Jamari. This 2-year-old being swung by these adults came first. So that was the external guard. But I had worked on Aviana and Tisha later on in time. And as I said again, going back over my session 10 months after the fact, I realized no, Jamari was telling me so very, very, very early on, but because I was overwhelmed and this was such a small, what I considered then insignificant memory, I just kind of let it slide. But I realize now how it fits together in this incident. The same with Josiah and me punching my sister. So that's what this form does for me. It gives me the chronological events. Like, is it before this? Is it after this? I can figure out where it kind of slides in the middle. So that's what that does. So that journal, that's what I got out of this journal. You'll see the rest of it read in session. You see, I think there was, oh, there's another one. Image of sitting on the plane, grateful that cigarette put me to sleep. Now, what my dad and my handler would do, they would fly me to wherever I was going to do a performance. And then afterwards, as I'm winding down, they'd give me a cigarette to amp me up to do the performance. Then afterwards, they'd give me another cigarette with a downer to bring me down. A little bit in the theater setting as I'm changing clothes, but once we would get on the plane or the car or whatever transport it was, they would give me another cigarette with more of a downer and it would put me to sleep. Now, sometimes they didn't give that to me until after each of them raped me, one or the other or both or whatever. And I have that part that I still need to, that, what did I call it? Rape on the plane, Dad and Jack, cigarette on the plane. So I'm sure there's a lot more going on in that plane and other splits. But I think that my sex slaves at that age just handled the situation. So what the part is the part that was drugged and switching from one shell into another. So I think that could be why I'm having a hard time figuring this out because this was the mechanism that would cause the shift, the split. So I haven't really worked that out yet. So that is that for that journal entry. You'll see the rest as I read it in session. Let me see, the next one is, oh, this one. Just a one-liner memory for this one day, which I was grateful for at the time because I got a decent night's sleep, I believe. It said, I fell back asleep for a couple of hours and now it's 7 a.m. and I'm up. I keep having that song go through my head. I'm too sexy for my body. Da, 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 da. I said, I have no idea where that comes from. Just a little one-liner memory. And again, back then, I was in overwhelm with just a crap load of memories, emotions, TEDs, sessions, just all of it. So the other day when I prepared the session to be posted and rewatching it, I went, oh my goodness, that's a part. It has to be. And so again, I pulled up my chronological list and I kept thinking, well, when first what I did was I looked up when the song was released. I believe it was 1991. So I'm looking on my timeline here. I started adding the season and the year if I could pinpoint it. And I believe this song, let me find her. There she is. Oh, no, that's not right. Who is it? It's Xavier, sorry. Xavier. Okay, yeah. That the song was released in 1991. And at first I thought, well, is it part of this SRA incident with these mob people in their basement? I was like, no. So I'm just kind of scrolling along. So where do you go? Where do you? All of a sudden, I had an image. When I was in the New Age, my boss in the crystal store took me to a Buddhist. It wasn't an ashram, but it was just like a large church type building where Buddhists had their, weekly, bi-weekly chanting sessions or whatever they did. I don't know what you call it. But, and I also thought, well, it can't be these incidents back here because the year is wrong. The song wasn't even released, so it couldn't be that. And I realized, I thought, okay, well, these were 92, 93, 95. What's going on in here? And I realized, oh, that rape in that Buddhist place. What my boss in the crystal shop, my handler, did was took me to this Buddhist place and she trafficked me to the guru. She gave me to him for him to rape, and she got something from him. I don't even know what it was. But and it wasn't money. She got some sort of teaching or got to climb the satanic ladder. I don't know what it was, but so anyway, she leaves me in his office with him in the back room. And when she leaves, he pops on this song. I'm too sexy for, and he had on a Buddhist robe, a monk robe, and he's taking it off to this song. And as I'm remembering, it's like, are you kidding me? Because that part is thinking, oh, well, monks are pious, they're quiet, they're demure, they're, whatever. And this part's really, no, look at him with this mic and this song, this new release, I'm too sexy. And he was kind of like a short, fat, ugly thing. It's singing he's too sexy. I'm like, are you kidding me? And the part's like, no, that's what happened. And then, so I'm in shock watching, I'm splitting, watching this monk do this. And then he starts raping me and I split again, you know. So from Bo to Xavier to Marshall, their old names was Buddha, I'm too sexy, and ashram. I should put rape. It wasn't an ashram. Actually, what it was as he was raping me, he was telling me, you should join an ashram. They'd love you at the ashram. Yeah, because they'd be trafficking me and raping me and abusing me. So anyway, it's funny because later, after this, and after I got away from the Crystal Place, Milwaukee, I was down in Texas, guess what? For some reason, I'm drawn to Buddhism. My part is. And I wasn't drawn to it. I decided, okay, well, I want to escape this world. And I called and figured out, so what do you have to do to be in an ashram? Is you have to meditate 3 hours a day. And so I did that. And this is where I started meditating and chanting and called down to me demons. Very shortly after, within a year of that rape, I am trying to join an ashram and I'm calling down demons to myself because this man put the suggestion in my part's head. So that's very fascinating. So that's that journal entry. And oh, yeah. So let me go back to here. Eliana, here's the journal entry. So I'm laying down to go to bed. I have an image in my mind. I'm looking at myself from behind, and at first I thought I was pulling paper towards me, a large roll of paper, but that didn't make sense. I realized I was being made to pull the skin off the back of a human being, from the shoulders down to the buttocks, and I was doing it. I had another job in the butcher shop before we went to the ritual on the roof and then left. The skinners weren't done, but the butchers were, so we had to go and help them finish up in time for the ritual. These were the torsos without limbs I had prepared earlier, ready for skinning. And I just want to make sure. Yeah, that's the only one on here. You'll hear me read all the rest of this, but so as I'm rewatching the session a few days ago, I'm realizing, oh my goodness, I never recorded this part. I had, let me shrink this. Let me find her again. Eliana. I had remembered the stage show with the guillotine. I had remembered going to the butcher shop and the part that's called push pull here. I would have to pull a body in a certain direction, push a button, and it would chop the part off, the arm, all that. Well, you're left with just this torso and nothing else. And so that part, I remembered push pull. I remembered these other parts. I'll get into this in a second. Justin presented next, where I'm literally sewing human skin onto another live person, a man who's standing up. And me and I think three or four other people, like a seamstress, was guiding me, but they needed help sewing. And how these people knew, or how I even knew to sew at 7 years old, I think my mom had taught me basics of sewing buttons on and stuff. So I had processed push pull and sew suit, Lyric and Justin. And then later, these other pieces came weeks later, the details of it. But I forgot about Skinner, Eliana, in this journal. And went, oh my goodness, I need to put her in here. And so what it was after the stage show, we went to the butcher shop. I chopped parts, and we were like getting to a caught up stage. And they said, well, we need help in the skinning room. So they sent me in there. But then someone else ran inside, did that for a very short period of time. I was splitting, did that for a very short period of time. And then someone came in and said, well, wait, we need help with the sewing room because we're not going to be on time for the ritual. So they pulled me out and put me in there to help sew. And what it was is this man, I don't know if he owned the butcher shop or used it or what, but it was his plan to kill as many and enough children and or adults to have the pieces of skin necessary to have them sewn onto his body, to have a human hand just bigger than his so he could slide it on like a glove and have it sewed together. And cover his arms and legs and feet and torso, every part of him covered with another human's skin, including his head and face. He was completely encased in other human skin, and it wasn't prepared like leather or anything. It was raw. So as it was placed on, it stuck, it suctioned. And so his thing was, you know, Satan, if I can handle doing this, I'm worthy of your blessings or whatever. So once he was completely sewed up and encased in the suit, we went upstairs to the roof and had a ritual. And so these are the different parts. I'm skinning, and now I'm going into a room where all these other skins are prepared, but it's also where they gave me a needle and thread, and I'm picking up this skin and bringing it over, and I'm sewing it onto him with this other woman's guidance, and I'm biting my tongue of the horror from it, and then watching the face placed on his face, and then we're going upstairs for this ritual, and then Lizzie is upstairs and sees, there was stuff involving a human heart and eating and all sorts of stuff, but the ritual begins, some switching, then a dragon comes out of the sky, Satan, Lucifer, whoever it is. He bequeaths energy and power to this guy in the skin, And then after that, we go downstairs into a room and have like a little banquet where he's placed on a chair and carried around like a king or queen. You know, he was literally on a throne, except it was kind of a cheap ass throne. Anyway, so that was that part. So this form, keeping your parts in chronological order, really helps you to pinpoint things, even if it's just if you don't have as much as on there as I do. Obviously, well, at first I had 50, then 100, then 200, and there were big gaps. And what it did for me at first was to realize, wow, I have nothing at the age of 9 and nothing at the age of 13. What's going on? Well, then those parts slowly started to trickle up because I'm asking, right? But now that I've got 1,050 parts, I've got all this detail. All the years are not necessarily filled in, but I can literally pinpoint between which two parts it is in the same incident. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes it's just a part floating out there all by itself. That's why I keep it white. But that's what this form will help you do. And let's see what the next journal entry is. Oh yeah, I just read this to you. This the thinking I'm pulling paper to realize no, it's human skin. And then this one, oh yeah, this one goes into the other parts, Lizzie with the ritual and all that. And so they came, what was this, 1 day apart, but I was so overwhelmed by this ritual. I couldn't even comprehend or face that one with the skinning because the one on the ritual involved demonic activity and the one in the skinning room was just if you can say just the peeling of the skin. It was a lower intensity level, so um that's what that's all about. And close those out. And again, as I said, all the rest of this is in the session. But what I wanted to go over with you here is it's just so important. I know when you're in the thick of the heavy of the intense, just record everything. You will get back to it. Record the big stuff. Um, but when you're in that overwhelmed state, you can't catch every detail. I mean, I guess you could, but I didn't. And so going over it 6 months or a year or 18 months later, when you have all this other stuff filled in and you've processed all this other emotional stuff, you're able to go back and look at those details and go, oh, that's where it goes. Okay. And it just fills out the incident and gives you more detail. But it's not as overwhelming as the other stuff, you know. So anyhow, that's it for this journal reading. Um, thank you all for being a part of my journey. Thank you all for listening. I hope y'all get help from this. Feel free to reach out and contact me. Let's get to know each other and talk. Um, I guess I'll let y'all go. God bless you all. I ask God to surround you, your godly loved ones, your homes, your pets, your properties, your electronics, your data, your vehicles, your travels, your destination and workplaces. Surround all of that with impenetrable shields of your love with your holy angels standing guard. Please send your warrior angels in times of spiritual warfare and protect us. Father, please bind all the powers, principalities, spiritual wickedness, and dark forces in all places, on all planes of existence, from us, our godly loved ones, our homes, our pets, our properties, our electronics, our data, our vehicles, our travels, our workplaces, and destinations. And Father, please block astral projection to us or those places. And Father, I ask you to increase our knowledge, our wisdom, our understanding, and our discernment. Father, please increase our ability to see you, hear you, feel you, and give us a passion and compulsion to cling to you, and give us the courage and voice to speak your word. Father, we thank you for your creation, for your sacrifice of your Son, that we may be able to come back home to you. In Jesus' name, amen. So thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Round and round, what comes around